They say that silk remembers no blood, a convenient truth for those who tread these halls, leaving behind more than just footprints. But I have seen, with these very eyes, how even the most delicate satin absorbs secrets no one should have ever heard. It clings to whispered venom, to the phantom scent of fear, to the very essence of a dynasty teetering on a precipice. Look closely, past the dazzling jewels and the shimmering brocade, past the overturned goblet with its lingering crimson stain. Can you not feel the chill that permeates this gilded cage? Here, within the supposed sanctuary of the harem, the air itself is thick with unspoken promises and unfulfilled threats. Beneath layers of perfume and power, a silent war rages, fought not with swords, but with smiles, with glances, with the precise placement of a single, poisoned flower. A war for the very bloodline, for the right to birth an heir, to secure a future that often costs the present. What price, do you think, is placed on a sultan's favor? A lifetime of servitude? A moment of triumph? Or perhaps a slow, agonizing demise? The women of this court, queens and concubines alike, move with the grace of dancers, each step a calculated maneuver. They are artists of betrayal, masters of the shadow, their every silence a deafening roar. Do you truly believe their tears are always real, or their laughter always genuine? The game is ancient, timeless, and utterly ruthless. It plays out in courtyards bathed in moonlight, behind heavy velvet curtains, in chambers where only the rustle of silk can hear the truth. And the truth, my friends, is rarely as beautiful as the tapestries that adorn these walls. It is a harsh mistress, demanding everything, giving little in return, save for the bitter taste of power. A single misstep, a misplaced word, and a life, once vibrant, can wither like that forgotten flower, crushed beneath the relentless march of ambition. This is not just history. This is the pulse of a beating heart, slowing, then stopping. You see the brilliance, do you not? The gleam of 1,000 sapphires, the shimmer of silk that whispers tales across polished marble. A symphony of gold and jade, reflecting captured light, scented with jasmine and rose. This is the Sultan's harem, they tell you. A garden of earthly delights where beauty blossoms under a benevolent sun. And you believe it, perhaps. Who wouldn't? The illusion is perfected, honed over centuries by deception, crafting the most exquisite gilded cages. But listen closely. Beneath the murmur of the fountains, past the lulling cadence of distant lutes, a pulse throbs, a vibration of coiled tension through the very air. Look at the women. They move with the grace of gazelles, each gesture a choreographed dance of submission, of allure. Their smiles, painted on like porcelain, betray nothing. Yet, watch the eyes, always the eyes. They are windows to a battlefield, to a silent war fought with softest weapons. Beyond every brocade curtain, past every fountain that lulls the ear, a shadow hides. It clings to carvings, dances in flickering oil lamps, wraps around velvet cushions. This is no mere sanctuary for indulgence. It is the crucible where destinies shatter, where the bloodline itself trembles on a whisper. These are not mere women, you understand. No concubines vying for fleeting favor. These are queens, crowned not with diadems, but with unyielding ambition, playing a game where, from the first move, not only their lives, but the dynasty's fate hangs. Consider the weight of that. Each breath drawn in this perfumed air is measured, each soft word weighed for its potential as a dagger or a shield. Observe the rustle of a heavy gown, the intricate pattern of its embroidery. Does it speak simply of wealth, or conceal a message woven into its threads? A courtesan glides by, her laughter like scattered pearls. Yet, as she passes, a silk handkerchief, embroidered with a crimson poppy, slips from her grasp. An accident? Or a missive, carefully dropped, its true recipient alerted by an imperceptible shift in her gaze? Such is the language of this place. A language of gestures, hidden meanings, of a profound silence that speaks volumes. A single glance, across a hall of servants and supposed friends, can seal a pact, condemn a rival. A flicker of an eyelid, a slight head tilt can signal victory or defeat. Here, poison is not always a bitter draught in a jeweled cup. Sometimes it is the truth, delivered at the wrong moment. Betrayal is not always a conspirator's knife, often a whispered confidence turned against its source. This court, this gilded cage, demands a different kind of strength. Not the brute force of a warrior, but the insidious power of the mind, the cunning of a serpent, the patience of a spider. For within these walls, under the constant, heavy gaze of the emperor and the omnipresent shadow of the unseen, the greatest battles are waged. The stakes are immense, the rewards intoxicating, and the cost? The cost is everything. And silence, my friend, is often the loudest weapon of them all. The air, once thick with the languid perfume of jasmine and the deceptive calm of an afternoon lull, began to hum with a discordant whisper. A rhythm, at first subtle, now quickened its pulse within these labyrinthine walls, echoing the frantic beat of a trapped bird's heart. Observe the fleeting shadows, cast long and distorted by the flickering lamps in the deep corridors. Watch the nervous twitch of a eunuch's fingers as he clutches a scroll, his eyes darting like desperate sparrows. Listen to the hasty murmurs, barely audible above the rustle of silk, exchanged between figures cloaked in midnight, their faces hidden even from the moon. Here, in the gilded cage of ambition, the rules are written in blood, and every breath is a calculated gamble. Sometimes it takes but one wrong word, one broken seal upon a letter to shatter a world, or one cup of sherbet, served by the wrong hand, to extinguish a burgeoning dynasty. A truth these women, born to rule or to serve, knew intimately, yet often underestimated. For the game, you see, has no mercy for either the naive or the arrogant. Tonight, the focus was not on sherbet, but on parchment. A missive, heavy with the weight of distant battlefronts, had arrived from the Grand Vizier. Its contents, intended for the Sultan's eyes alone, spoke of shifting allegiances, of a provincial governor whose loyalty wavered under the weight of gold and whispered promises. The original seal, a proud crimson impression of the vizier's personal crest, had been flawless. But within the space of a single breath, between the messenger's trembling hand and its arrival at the Sultan's antechamber, the world shifted. A silent figure, cloaked in the deeper shades of the palace's forgotten passages, intercepted the scroll. A glint of polished silver in the dim light. A practiced hand, steady as a surgeon's, peeled back the wax. The paper, fragile with age and travel, yielded its secrets. Not a word was changed, not a line erased. The original message, a warning against the governor, remained. But a second, far more insidious document, crafted with meticulous deceit, was slipped inside. This forged missive, bearing the exact same crimson seal, now accused a different man entirely. Not the distant governor, but Pasha Iskender, a staunch loyalist to the Sultan and, more critically, an unyielding supporter of the Valide Sultan, the mother of the heir. The second seal was pressed, identical in every minute detail, down to the faintest imperfection in the wax. A masterpiece of betrayal, so subtle, so precise, it would escape all but the most scrutinizing eye. The scroll, now a venomous serpent, was returned to the eunuch's care, its silent poison already seeping into the veins of the court. The air thickened. The silence that followed was not one of peace, but of a held breath, a moment suspended before the storm. The foundations of the dynasty trembled. No one was ready for what came next. Or, perhaps, everyone waited with bated breath, their hearts pounding in anticipation of the inevitable fall. For the seal was broken, the abyss glimpsed, and the ruthless war for the bloodline had just found its sharpest, most unforgiving blade. The air in these chambers, even now, carries the ghosts of whispers. So many have stood where she stands, their fates suspended by the thinnest thread of silk or the sharpest glint of a dagger unseen. From this pillar, A silent witness to 1,000 intrigues, I have watched them all. The queens, the consorts, the mothers, each a player in a game that knows no mercy. It is so easy, is it not, to condemn them from the cool comfort of the shadows, to brand them with the scarlet letter of ambition, to call them villains, as history often does. But look closer. Press your ear to the ancient stones of this palace and tell me, who among us, who has breathed the very fear that permeates these walls, can honestly say they would have survived differently? Consider her in the hushed chamber of her sleeping child. The soft glow of the oil lamp paints a fragile tableau. Her son, a small, innocent anchor in a sea of treacherous currents, breathes evenly. He dreams, perhaps, of sunlit gardens, of a world yet untouched by the venom of court. But his mother, her eyes, hollowed by a vigilance that never truly sleeps, betray the relentless war waged within her soul. Is it evil that compels her? Or is it something far more primal, more profound? A mother's resolve, the preservation of her bloodline. This is not about power for power's sake, not truly. It is about survival, pure and unvarnished. It is about ensuring that this fragile life, this promise of a future, does not become another casualty, another forgotten name etched on a forgotten tomb. Every smile she offers, every slight she endures, every strategic alliance she forges or shatters is a calculated move to keep that small, beating heart safe. We men speak of empires forged by steel and conquest. But here, within the veiled heart of the dynasty, empires are secured by the unwavering, often ruthless, will of women. A will tempered by betrayal, polished by the constant threat of poison, and wrapped in the deceptive beauty of silk. There are no good or bad here, only those who understand the rules of the game and those who are swept away. The silence of the harem is not peace, it is the prelude to the next inevitable strike. She looks at her child, and in that gaze you see not malice, but an unbreakable oath. An oath to protect, even if it means her own soul must be stained. The sacrifices she makes are not for personal gain alone, but for the very continuation of her world, her lineage. Do you truly believe she wishes for this life, this constant dance on the precipice? Or is it a burden, a heavy crown placed upon a head that yearns, perhaps, for a simpler existence? But such yearnings are a luxury she cannot afford. Not when the future of a dynasty rests upon the sharpness of her mind and the unyielding iron in her spirit. The price of the crown, my friends, is paid not in gold, but in a currency far more precious: the pieces of one's own humanity, surrendered for the sake of the next dawn. The whispers fade, the clatter of jewels stills. The very air in the Sultan's chamber, for a fleeting moment, seems to breathe a fragile peace. But do not be deceived, my dear viewers. Do not mistake this quietude for an ending, for a true end never comes within these walls. A curtain may fall on one act, yes, a magnificent, blood-soaked drama concluding in silk and sorrow. But the game, my friends, the relentless game of power, never concludes. Here, a queen may fall, her gilded ambition crushed beneath the weight of a new, rising sun. A branch of the bloodline may wither, only for another, more ruthless shoot to pierce the ancient soil. This palace, this gilded cage, is not merely a stage for luxury and pleasure. It is a crucible of the human soul, a field of unseen battles where the weapon is a subtle smile, the shield a whispered lie, and the ultimate prize, the survival of one's dynasty. You have witnessed the slow, insidious poison in the gilded cup, the sharp, calculated betrayal uttered behind the velvet curtain. Such acts are not aberrations. They are the very language of power, articulated in hushed tones. The struggle for the right to simply be tomorrow, to see your children inherit the light of the Sultan's favor, is a ceaseless, brutal war. Every dawn is a gamble, every sunset a victory hard won, or a defeat silently borne. The true nature of this struggle, its inevitability, is etched into every stone, every shadow that stretches long and cold across the marble floors. And even when all falls silent and night devours the palace secrets, the shadow of those who fought for the dynasty remains, eternal, silent, and forever carved in stone. Look closely as the grand palace recedes into the moonlit distance, or perhaps as the camera lingers on the deep, inky shadow cast by a single ancient column. Feel the weight of centuries of ambition. The game continues, always.